Portions of the program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Disclaimer! Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit education or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. This video was made for entertainment purposes and is transformative in
Jack Johnson was a big inspiration because of what he did out of the ring. He was so bold. Jack Johnson was a black man back when white people lynched Negroes on weekends, every weekend. Back in 1909, they would send him letters saying, "You fighting a white man, and nigger, if you knock him out, we'll kill you." He said, "Just kill my black buckers, I'm gonna knock this white."
The son of former slaves fought his way to become the first black heavyweight boxing champion of the world. The Texan ruled the ring for 7 years and was an icon for racially oppressed African Americans.
He was a man who struck fear in other powerful men, big and strong, flamboyant and cocky.
Jack Johnson was a source of great pride to the African American community for defying and standing up to systemic and institutional racism.
In 1912, Johnson was arrested for violating something called the Mann Act, a 1910 federal law aimed at criminalizing the transport of any woman or girl for the purpose of prostitution or debauchery. He was convicted a year later, still reigning champion, then sentenced to a year in prison, fleeing the country before returning to serve his time.
He was pretty much unbeatable. Well, on behalf of the White House, on behalf of the presidency, on behalf of this country, our country is a great country, and we have done something today that was very important because we righted a wrong.
And he would knock the white man out, and the Ku Klux Klan would be burning them. They killed Negroes all over the country. When Jack Johnson wanted to fight, they had riots all over the state of America. It was so serious, and Jack Johnson, he's bad. He had to be a bad, bad black man.
It was a wrong, so we thank you so much.
Wasn't no black Muslims to defend him. Wasn't no NAACP in 1909. Wasn't no Rap Brown. Wasn't no MOVE. All these black groups. Wasn't no Angela Davis, no Hill Newton, no Malcolm X. He was by himself, Jack Johnson, and had white women. You know that nigga was bold. He was bad. Back in 1909, man. I know I'm bad.
Hello and welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I am your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Mind, and this is We Up Report. We Up Report is to bring news, articulate, transmit, communicate, insinuate, develop, investigate, decode, unveil, spread the news, whether it's by news or video website or quote from publications. As I articulate this information, I ask that the creator of the universe be here, heart, soul, mind, and spirit. Because why? The truth don't need no partner. As a descendant of the greatest people who created this land that you call the United States, we today in the present generation, we give honor to our ancestors. You know what the motto of my show is? I'm never gonna tell you what I heard. I'm only gonna tell you what I know. Today's date is November the 12th, 2021. Welcome to another episode of We Up Report. Well, we got one today based on some things that I've seen and try to wonder where maybe this is coming from, but then we also have to touch about something in history that for those who may have not known, we are a news channel that do history, correlate the articles with the history, and this one in particular may make some people feel a little uneasy. Well, part of today's dissertation is going to be from something I found by a professor named Barak y IO. He was a professor that wrote about the Johnson and Jefferies fight and the censorship of black supremacy is one part. Then there's another story that was talking about something, as we'll get into, about there's some viralness of black flags. Well, we will see what that's about, the history to it, and just stay tuned as we delve into this topic. Hey, how's y'all doing, everybody? This is your host again, Mrblowsurmind, and welcome to We Up Report. First and foremost, before we get going, I want to say what's good to the original day ones. What's good, fam? I know I'm trying to get back in there. It's like every 5-6 days, but I'm getting in there, right? Hopefully that you are taking a little time out your day to come over here and see what the We Up Report has brought. We thank you kindly for coming over here. Go ahead and, while you're sitting here, hit that like button, share button, comment, like this, subscribe if you ain't already. Should have already done that if you're my day one, but I'll go ahead, that's fine. I'm glad to see that you're back over here. And to my new subscribers, welcome to the We Up Report family. Trying to get back in. For those who are passing by, welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube, which is We Up Report. Go down the aisle. I've been doing some recent videos, but if you happen to see something that make you feel some kind of way, remember the motto of my show is the truth. Don't need no partner. So some of you might have clicked on the video due to you might have seen this thumbnail here, right? Stopping the bad man type. Let me say that again. Stopping the bad man type. What is that about, Mr. Blows Your Mind? Well, history has told us about the individual that you see on your thumbnail, or my thumbnail that you see on your screen. And in that history about the individual we will be talking about in there, he became an archetype. He was a prototype for a certain type of individual that the country felt like this individual and those who are like him, that for those of the history who do not know, I will show you, going back into the time machine, of stuff that had been put out here that I know that the stuff we're not going to be taught in those schools. And you may find it if you do the research out here, and I happen to have found some from a professor from NYU, Barak y IO, I think his name is, and he gave us some insight as to the articles and things that he laid out that I will lay out for you to give you a mind's eye view of how people thought of the time, and could it still be today, because I also seen this particular thing myself that we will get into. But that is what there's going to be can tell about stopping the bad man type, right? That's what we're going to get into. That's going to be the crux of today's show. All right, so let me go ahead and let's go ahead and get into this. All right, so I seen this a day or so ago. If you see an all-black American flag, what does that mean? Let me say that again. If you see an all-black American flag, what does that mean? So some of you may not have seen, but accordingly there's a video out there, a little viral, and showing something like this. See that flag there? Saying there's a viral video out here that said there has been frequent sightings of people posting this flag, driving with this flag. They're buying and selling them, and you're seeing videos with them. And again, as a report that we do as ReUpReport, for those who may not be on the tower watching, but that's what we do. That's what we expect for you to support this channel by subscribing, sharing, and eventually we will have some other ways that if you want to contribute, you can do. So just in case you haven't heard anything about that in particular, I'm going to get into that according to like this article is talking about here. Now, this article came out of Washington, and it was talking about have you seen this viral TikTok video that people are flying black American flags. Now, according with this black flag, it claims it's a resistance symbol from the Civil War era. Let me say that again. This black flag that they claim is a resistance symbol from the Civil War era. Now, when you're talking to a black American descendant of slaves of this land, and I know some people won't have a problem with that, my family members who are indigenous, autochthonous, aboriginals, you know we family. But just because I say black Americans, you know what I'm talking about. That doesn't exclude. You get what I'm saying? So some of you who feel some kind of way, or those who be saying, you're saying black. You know what I'm talking about. This is the term that we'll all be using to understand, so we know exactly who we're talking about. You can use the word black to encompass other people, but in this country, when you say that word black, we know who you're talking about. Just like this flag, right? So anyway, Civil War has a ring in our spirit when somebody talks about we're using a symbol of the Civil War era. Now, we as black Americans hear that, we say, what? Okay, all right. So what's the symbolism and what this is really about, right? So anyway, as I showed you, again, this flag here, they call this a monochromatic black American flag. And they've been popping up online, right? And the claims are that they were first flown by the Confederates during the American Civil War. The person who posts these flags, or posted on this particular TikTok video that went viral, claims that it means no quarter. No quarter. In other words, no mercy will be given to the enemy. Let me say that again. What you see on your screen is a monochromatic black American flag. It's been a viral video that's out here that's been played, and they claim that this was first flown by the Confederates during the American Civil War. Again, we as black Americans hear the word American Civil War, our history here, and then we have somebody who's out here flying a black flag, and they claiming that those who post this, or at least this particular video, that this flag means no quarter, meaning no mercy will be given to the enemy. Now, who is posting this, and what enemy do they believe they have out here, right? So the people in question of this went out and seeked themselves out. They call it a vexologist, which is a flag expert and a history of flags. And according to this vexologist, these flags don't have the historic background that the people who are posting on social media say they do. But they're going to tell you what it is. You know how they do, like, fact checks. We discovered that this is false. But that may not always be as true. So you have to understand the way that they're going to disseminate how they're going to determine whether it's false or not. So let me tell you a little bit about that. So they said this monochromatic black American flag did not originate in the Civil War. They say it did not, according to this, particularly in this article, what they talked about. Then now they say there are reports of them being flown. Now wait a minute. Right there off the bat, then you already contradict yourself. You said this monochromatic black American flag did not originate, so it didn't originate. Originate means it didn't start with them. See? It means it did not stop with them, and that there are reports of them being flying. So somewhere in history, there is some notation, there is some documentation, there is some acknowledgement of the fact that there was a black monochromatic flag during the time of the Civil War. So this vexillologist is saying that they were first a symbol of piracy. Piracy. Okay. And so they claim that the flag carries different meanings for different people, right? You can create a flag and create your own meaning according to how that who has created it or whatever the symbolism that they have adopted this flag and now they're going to use it, right? So, people out here, right? So, again, the vexillologists, they said it's entirely unlikely that American flag would have been flown by the Confederates. They said entirely unlikely, right? It's not zero, it's not absolute, but it's entirely unlikely. Doesn't mean that they didn't, right? But they did say this is false. But again, you have not pinpointed and said with certainty, right? So, they believe it's just not going to happen, that the Confederates would never do this. So, okay, fine. They said that the Confederates captured Union flags. They would get flags and they would capture them, and that would be part of the booty of the war. But as into them flying this specific type of flag, they say, nah, that's not going to happen. It'd be maybe be a trophy of war. But they're not saying this particular flag, though. So they say the first part of this trying to claim, they're gonna believe, they say that's false. Now wait a minute. There's partial falsity and there's partial truth. So how did you determine that it's purely false? It's really like inconclusive, right? Anyway, you know how they do, right? So the experts said that the Confederacy did fly black flag. Wait a minute. I thought you said it's false. So you're saying that the experts, along with this vexillologist and other experts, said that the Confederacy did fly black flags. They were not American flags. What black flag were they flying then? What black flag did the Confederates fly if they're not talking about like that one on your screen? So there's another flag out there somewhere, huh? So they decided, well, we're going to move on past it. Okay, so we kind of say unlikely they were going to do it. And if they did this, it was something they had captured. We did find in some of our some of the documentation and some of the writings of history that we did find that the Confederacy did fly black flags, but they were not American flags. Okay. So somebody has taken the liberty to say, we're going to use this and symbolize it because maybe there's some more history that is not going to be put on, let's say, the websites, but maybe in books, right? And people who pass down through generations about certain types of information that is just not privy to the average Joe. So anyway, about the part they talk about no quarter, right? Remember, I talk about no quarter in that, right? And they say, well, back in the 18th century, they said the black flag became recognized symbol of piracy, right? Piracy. Matter of fact, did any of y'all know that the United States had a war with I think it's called the Barbary Wars, right? The Barbary Wars. Anybody know anything more about that? We won't be able to get into that today. I may do that as another show. But you ever heard of the Barbary Wars that the United States fought with? And a lot of those who be Moors, that's some of the stuff you're talking about, right? And when they considered the corsairs, the Barbary, they was pirates, right? So this black flag became recognized as a symbol of piracy. So around what it was, I think it was up to 1812, right? And they fought like 2 wars. And the last one, I think it was about 3 days they claimed. But they really too in-depth in that. It's just like kind of a little bit, but you didn't get too much, right? So they said this is who they recognize who would be flying this kind of flag, right? Okay. So, but this black flag came to mean give no quarter. But isn't that what they saying in the beginning? They said we give no quarter, right? Now they said this black flag that goes back to the 18th century is recognized as a symbol of piracy, and the black government means that give no quarter. And when you say no quarter, means you won't be taking prisoners in a time of war or in a battle. You plan to kill the enemy on the spot. Let me say that again. This 18th century black flag became recognized as a symbol of piracy, which means, according to the recognition that it's known for, means give no quarter. Now, no quarter means you won't be taking prisoners or you won't be taking prisoners in a time of war or in battle. You plan to kill the enemy on the spot. And people are out here flying this, and somehow it's being equated with that. So as black Americans, should we be like, shied off like, they out here playing again? Or is this symbolizing something that might be a little bit more deeper that we may have to pay some attention to, right? So they believe and say that there are accounts of Confederate soldiers flying black flags. But I thought you said they wasn't. But now they do. So they say it's false to claim no quarter. Now see, they taking certain words, but they didn't say no quarter though. They flew them, but okay. So what are we really saying here? Did the flag exist? Did the Confederates use it? If these are the project, let's say if these are the descendants of them, and now they're going to take this term and heighten it to make it what it is want to fit today, then if you're saying this, and if that's how they plan it, then I think this is news for us to at least we heard it, right? And again, meaning no quarter, meaning that in a time of war or in battle, they plan to kill the enemy on the spot. Would this be considered like terrorists? Would this be considered terrorist talk? Okay, maybe not. And then you acknowledge the fact that the Confederate soldiers were flying this flag, right? So, a lot of people who, let's say, a certain type of ideology, they fly a Confederate flag as they're understanding it to be, and there's a history that is tied with that, and we as black Americans, and they're talking about time of war and killing people on the spot, and talking about how this is associated with back in the time of the American Civil War. And if you know what the Civil War is about, what is this symbolizing, and what is this referencing to, and what is it all about? And should we as black Americans, at least, we hearing it. Now, how you take it is another thing, but you can't say you didn't hear about it. And then they talk about how they flown flags like this 100 years prior to the Civil War. But as I told you, they said the Cossars, right? The Triple O, was it the Tripoli? What is the Barbary Coast? When you talk about the North Africans, which would be your Moors, right? And they talk about the white slave trade and how all that was, and that you can read a little bit about that, but the Barbary slave codes or Barbary slave trade is what they said, right? So anyway, and so what they're saying is there's a commingling of how they're interpreting this flag based on what they found, and it goes back to the monochromatic black American flags. And they said they started re-emerging back in 1955, and they said it was an artist named Jasper John who painted them, and other people had sold them, and it appears that people have given it their own meaning now. Self-identify, self-determining based on, again, a flag in whatever organization. That's what people do, right? That's what they do. So they say somebody got the idea of combining the different threads of history and taking the monochromatic black flag and introduce the idea and says they take no prisoner flag. Well, that's what they're doing, right? It's right there in your face, right? And that, again, they want to talk about how different flags can mean different things to different people. But if the people who said they're flying this and they're telling you what it is representing and what does it mean, are we to take heed is the question. So again, they want to talk about as far as history goes, as the validity and 100%ness of it, they verify that this claim is false, right? It didn't originate with the Civil War, and as to no quarter flags and that, but the black flag existed. They were flown by some, but today they're using it and saying it for something else. Okay? You know, thinking about this black flag. Now, there's another black flag that has been flown, but you really don't notice it until I did this. I started to say, wait a minute. Is it? Because, you know, they got the police got their own flag, right? You know that, right? The blue flag, right? Put that, go ahead, put that up there for us, huh? Right? Put that, yeah, go ahead. Put that up there. Right? That flag right there, that is the police flag, right? But that flag is black, right? It's black. It just has a blue line representing, they say, the police, right? The blue line, right? But that flag in itself is also black, right? And so could, you know, can you hypotheticalize the fact that there's some representation in this, that being an all black flag, but this one being black, but it you know, got the white and it got the blue stripes, right? Okay. What if when you put them, okay, we look like this. Could that mean something? Right? Could that, I mean, you know, when you see the patrioticness of the person with the American flag, right? It's not that black people, black Americans are not patriot to this country. You know, people been a little lackadaisical lately about a lot of these holidays. Every time you used to see some black people with the flag on during the 4th of July and stuff like that, right? But primarily who you see all the time who are waving the flags is just like you see the picture on your screen, and then you have the other mug over there that's also doing it. So it's like a combination in a way. These two can represent to be combined together, and you'll probably end up looking like probably this, right? You combine them together, right? Because you won't be able to see the blue inside the black. You just got the all black, and then you still got the American flag inside. So is it possible? Or, you know, is it possible? This is like combined together? Is that a combination of two? I'm just asking the question. Don't know, right? You got to figure stuff out, right? We know this particular flag is actually out there. It could be a whole bunch of nothing, or it could be about something, right? But that's what we do as we report. We find things out there to bring it to your attention. And as I say, some fat to chew on, right? Fat to chew on. So let's do this, and we'll be right back after this. All right, seems that we had some technical difficulties right there. So I do want to apologize for that. So we'll try that again. But anyway, we'll do it another time. All right, so you tell me what you think. Comment is, in the section if you feel some kind of way about that monochromatic Black American flag, and if you've seen anything on TikTok, go ahead and put your comment on there, what you think, or maybe it's just fool's gold, right? Okay. So let's put it like this, right? I had those who've seen the last show, right? You've seen the last show? Yeah, it seemed to be a little bit choppy for some reason, right? You remember in the show prior to, I talked about how, I talked about this a little bit. A new project details newspaper roles in lynching post-1865. A historian says newspapers were a pillar to uphold the white supremacist political economy. Let me say that again. A new project detailed newspapers' role in lynching post-1865. A historian says newspapers were a pillar to uphold the white supremacist political economy, right? I had talked about that in, a little bit about that, and what I wanted to show is that some continuation on that based on this article I had came across, and I want you to keep that as a mental note, that the crux of this information, when I'm going to talk, is all the information that will be coming out is based on a lot of the stuff that had been written by the newspapers of the time, and how that may still be part of the propaganda today and inciting and so forth. But this particular part of this section of this broadcast, we're going to talk about, I've seen this here, and let me show you what I'm talking about, right? It talks about when a black boxing champ beat the great white hope, all hell broke loose. Let me say that again. When a black boxing champ beat the great white hope, all hell broke loose. Yep. Ain't that something, y'all? All hell broke loose over a boxing match in this country going back. Now, CRT has been talked about. A lot of people talk about the fact of how they believe that history will make people be at odds with one another, and that if you teach the little ones, they're going to do nothing but hate. But, the history between the two. Now, again, today, they talk about diversity and they talk about all other nations. Yeah, there's a new type of history being written when you have all these other, nations being here. But in its inception, and again, the original sin, as they say, with the original sin being there, nothing has been resolved. And because there has been no resolution to it, some of the wounds, some of the hurts and feelings are still prevalent. Because why? They just haven't been dealt with. And because they haven't been dealt with, well, compounding things does not resolve it by, again, pushing it under the rug, try to hide it in the oven, sweeping it under the rug, does not resolve it, because all it does is just keep accumulating and piling up. And so as it gets bigger and bigger and becomes some, an astronomical build-up, what do you do with it then? So not recognize it, or maybe the flag in itself is the fed upness and don't want to deal with it. Could it be? Could be. we can't always take away that, right? So we may have some women in the house who may hear this. And this part of the history that I will do is to give you the background to get you the lead up to how they end up writing, as you see on your screen, when a black boxing champ beat the Great White Hope, all hell broke loose. So what I'm going to do, based on the articles that have been put out here, and again, there's people who put stuff out here, that I'm going to lay out how this can happen, and it has already happened. It's just, again, it's not common understanding. Matter of fact, when they talk about Jack Johnson, they always talk about just the fact of him being with a white woman. Let me say that again. When they talk about Jack Johnson, they only talk about the part of Jack Johnson in the Mann Act and him being with white women, right? That's what they focus on the most. But really, until you hear and understand what really took place, then you will probably have a better understanding of how this really went down. So what I'm going to do right before your eyes is give you, according to what my research and the things I found, that's going to give you more insight of what took place at this particular time and how this built up and ended up eventually becoming riots in this country. And what was it about Jack Johnson that irked white people so much that this one black man had to be basically destroyed because they did not want him to be the manufacturer of others to be produced like himself? Well, let me go ahead and give you the background to this particular story, right? Let me go ahead and tell you, because some of y'all you probably never heard this. So, now, the person who is going to be the white hope that's fighting against Jack Johnson, his name is going to be, right? I'm going to tell you what his name is. And some of you may not be about sports, but I want you to understand that this is really not about sports. This was bigger than sports. Actually, we just had this again recently, and I will tie in and show you that this had happened, and the reason why it was the magnitude that it got is because it goes back where we in 2021. So we're talking about over 110 years ago. 110 years ago, this had happened. Now, for some people here, 110 years ago, man, that's a long time ago. Some people in your family might be 90 years old. Some may have 100 years old. So if they're living and you can touch and talk to them, how long ago was this, right? So, okay, let me go ahead. So, all right, let's go ahead and let me go ahead and get into this and tell you exactly what you need to hear, right? So you have a fighter, his name is Jefferies, right? James Jefferies, right? And he became the heavyweight champion of the world at the age of 24. Now, he's a white man. He ended up taking the title from a fighter named was Robert Fitzsimmons, and that happened on June 9th of 1899, right? Jefferies had knocked him out, okay? And then, well, he beat him, and then 15 months earlier, before that fight that he fought in 1899 to get the title, what he did is he fought a individual. And this, make a mental note of this one particular part, because as I go on and give you more about this, remember what this is being said right here. Now remember, Jefferies eventually is going to be the world champion at 24 years old when he takes the title from Robert Fitzsimmons. And that was June 9th, 1899. But before he fought and got the championship, about 15 months, so we'd say about a year and 3 months prior, in about 1898 of March, he fought and knocked out a fighter named Peter Jackson. Now, what makes Peter Jackson to be mentioned is because Peter Jackson was known as the Black Prince. Peter Jackson was a black fighter. Yeah. So, mental note that Jefferies, back in 1898, fought a black man. Keep that in mind, right? So, this Jefferies and Jackson, they met in the ring of 1898, saying at the time that Peter Jackson was old. He had been one of those boxers that, he got it in, but he got old. By the time when he meets Jefferies is young, into the game, they say he knocks him out. But remember, he's black. Remember that day, he's black, okay? And so when Jefferies gets to be the champion, he's now going to take on the ideology of those who were champions before him, which again, you got to remember at this particular time, you have two different leagues. You know how you had the National League and the Negro League. Boxing had the same thing too, right? They had the Color Line League where black boxers were only fighting black boxers, prize fighters, and then you had the World, which is the other one, which is the White Man League, right? Okay. And so Jefferies, when he became champion, he started to follow suit of every other white champion, and what they call is the draw the color line. When a person says draw the color line, meaning they don't fight black fighters. Let me say that again. Remember, mental note, Peter Jackson, the Black Prince, that he fought in 1898, but when he became champion, he said he would now not fight nobody color. He called what white fighters would say, draw the color line, right? And so, now that he's a champion, Jack Johnson is in his, he's dominating, doing what he's doing, and Jack Johnson is trying to get himself to do the crossover and get in and take the world heavyweight champion. But they won't fight him, and this is the one, this is the top man. And he's unwilling to fight Jack Johnson. And the fact is, Jeffrey keep using his principle of saying that he's drawing the color line. And so here it is, he's only fighting white men, and he is knocking all the white men out. There's not a white man that could actually fight him at this time, right? They last a few rounds, and he knocks them out. And so 1903, he goes and announces that when there are no more white men to fight, he'll quit the business. So in 1903, he's already contemplating, there ain't a white man on the planet that could fight me. Ain't no need for me to keep fighting, so I'm going to go ahead. It's time for me to just go ahead and just retire. So in the Washington Post in 1903, they explain why Jefferies was reluctant, what they call at the time, and this is in the paper, right? Blackbirds, the blackbirds. Why won't you fight the blackbirds? So according to there was some stuff in the Bay Area, San Francisco, they were trying to make some efforts into making Jefferies a fight a colored man. But he kept turning it down, saying, he ain't trying to hear that. He said, again, remember, I'm using I draw the color line, and it's a prominent factor, and that he declared himself, unless the public in general made a demand that he should meet a color man, he would under no circumstance enter the ring against one. Now, this is what he's saying. Now, this is in 1903. He's saying, if the public in general made a demand and he should meet a color man, he would under no circumstance enter the ring. Now, this is 1903. Okay? Jack Johnson doing what he's doing already. Jack Johnson over there trying to get him, like, hey, man, you the best. I'm the best over here. Let's get it in, right? Okay. All right. It's okay. So, what ended up happening is, Jack Johnson, Jefferies had a brother, right? James had a brother. His name was James Jefferies. James had a brother named Jack Jefferies, who was also a boxer. Well, guess who got knocked out? Who knocked out James' brother? It was Jack Johnson knocked his brother out. So and Jack Johnson knocked his brother out. Then in 1904, he made it public the demand. He said, Jefferies, meet me in the ring. All right, meet me in the ring. In October 1904, he announced, I want Mr. Jefferies next. I'm entitled to fight with him. I'm faster than ever and bigger and stronger, and I guess everybody knows it. Now, this is Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson saying this at this time. This is 1904 now. And guess what? He dismissed all challenges and announced once again, you know what he announced? I passed Johnson up because he's colored. I would say I'll never box a color fighter. Now he's saying I'll never. But remember, in 1898, he did fight the Black Prince, right? Okay. So he goes on talking about how he won't change his mind, and if any white man, no matter who he is, and makes good enough showing in the business to satisfy me, that he would draw enough money in a fight with me, he said, I'll gladly take him on. I'm all ready to fight and will defend the title at all times against all comers. Now wait a minute. You got a but for in there. But for the fact that you being black, I won't fight you, but I'll fight any white man. But you can't find no white man. Right? He couldn't find a white man. No matter where they go, he couldn't find no white man, right? And then he goes on talking about, well, I don't think that the public wants me to defend my title against anyone but a white man. Now, he's kind of telling, well, you know, they don't want me to fight, you know, the public in this thing representing the white folks. White folks don't really want me to do this. And so because they don't want me to do it, I don't want to do it. But then you say, I'm drawing the color line when the man challenged you, you know, right? So it's a little back and forth. And I mean, you can sense what it is, right? You can smell it, right? You smell what it is, right? You know what it is, right? So, okay, we gonna play this game, right? So he goes on, talks about how the fact that there was no other heavyweight champions ever fought a colored man for the title, and he tell you right now that I'm not. So he is basically saying, now, he knocked out. He's undefeated. He's never lost a fight. You have another man who's identical just like you. He's a champion from where he's coming from. He's trying to go ahead. Let's go ahead. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and see who the best and claim all the titles. But he keep using color line. I'll never fight. You know, the public don't want me to do this. And as I kept saying, I'm a man of my word. Right? Okay. That's what he kept saying, right? That's what he kept on saying, right? And so he gets to 1905. So he didn't from 1903. Okay. Now it's 1905. So he retiring. He's undefeated. It's May of 1905. He go and have his press conference. He concluded to retire because there was no one in sight who was capable of giving the public a run for his money. Right? So, again, you know, you kind of playing with it. Well, ain't nobody out there for me. You know, nobody who I was attest to or who I really want to fight. Oh, did I say that? I mean, I'm kind of a capable guy out there, right? And then he says that, well, since I'm going to retire, and I'm announcing this, I will surrender my title to the victor between the match that was coming up between Marvin Hart and Jack Root that was going to be happening in Vegas on July 3rd of 1905. Now, that's what he said. Now, you got to see how this dude is playing both sides of how he's doing this, right? He's saying this, and he's saying that. Right? Okay, anyway, you might be feeling it anyway, but anyway. So he, then after saying that, he refused to honor the tradition of giving the title to the successor as a gift. He said, no, I'm not going to do that. He said, neither one of them would really hardly qualify for it. But if you retire, what does it matter to you? Right? Think about that. If you the king, if you the champ, and when you retire and no one whooped you, that's like Floyd Mayweather. Floyd gets to walked out to 50-0, right? Can't nobody take that from him. Why is this cat still kind of like trying to hold on to it, yet don't want to fight? You get what I'm saying? So, again, he don't want to go, give it to nobody else. He said, well, maybe there's a better man out here. Okay, there is a better man, but you don't want him. So, what happened on July 4th of 1905? Remember the Hart versus the Root fight? Well, Marvin Hart ended up becoming the heavyweight champion. He knocked out Root in the 12th round. Okay? So, in February 1906, Hart gets and loses to Tommy Burns. Okay? Now Tommy Burns is now the champion. And guess who's rubbing their hands? Right? He's rubbing his hands. But, you know, these white cats, and they get to use the color line to avoid have to deal with fighting with black fighters. So now this James Jefferies decides that he want to enter the ring again. Now that you got a different person, Tommy Burns, he says, well, if somebody give me a $50,000 purse, you know what I'm saying? You know, I'll go out there and fight him. He said, and the only other thing that would be is that, okay, $50,000 purse, and the one provision that I want to make is that the man that's facing me shall be a white man. Wait a minute. Right? Okay, I want y'all to understand this. Right? I'll come back and fight $50,000. We talking about 1904, 1905. That's a lot of money. But he has these stipulations that, well, if I'm going to get back in the ring, I'm going to fight, the man got to be white. So, okay. So he said some other things that talk about how God made me a white man and I'm willing to fight any man in the world. Some are willing to fight Negroes. The story of the prize ring shows that the white man is at least equal of the Negro. But last, first, and all time, I draw the color line. I always have and always will. Wait a minute, he always have and he always will. Huh? Remember 1898, who did he fight? Before he got the championship, he had to fight that individual. Somehow that catapulted him and got him so he can get to be fighting. So this is the difference with him that all the rest of them never did. He actually has a black man under his belt, and he's gonna hold that, and he ain't gonna test it, right? Okay, we peeping it. We peeping the Smitties. We peeping the Smitties. Now, no worthy white opponent picked up his challenge. Remember, he said he was $50,000 to come, and nobody, no white man. They knew. So he was in California on a farm. Say stayed about 8 months. Then 1907 rolled around. They claimed that he got out of shape. He was all out of shape. He kept playing with the idea that he would return back to the ring. Right? Told reporters he'll fight any white man if I can. He said I can get in shape. He said, the only man I bar of the ring at this present is Jack Johnson. Right? He said, I'll fight any man, but I don't want to fight Jack Johnson. Because he's colored. It's because he's colored now. Right? Okay. He said, I will not fight Johnson or any Negro. And that is final. Now, man, he keeps saying this. He's been saying this since 1903. It's 1906, 4 years later. He's still saying, I'll fight any white man. It's because he done fought. It's kind of like, Larry Bird is great. It wasn't Larry Bird is great because how did Larry Bird grow up and play in the basketball court? He playing with niggas, right? Larry Bird playing with niggas. And when you play with niggas, which is a different talent than from the talent you come from, it enhances your game. So he had the taste of what it was to fight a black man, and the brother was old, his dad was old at the time, and you got him and knocked him, and you got that one in, and you ready to use that on your hat, so that made all the rest of them like, you know what I'm saying, he knocked a nigga around before, right? Okay, now because you had one on the plantation, and you could do whatever the hell you want, we're talking about free to throw them hands the way he wanted to throw them, right? It's okay. So he was using that to hang his hat on. And he was one that everybody could see that you could fight. But the color line, it's the color line. So again, they go to Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson said, well, he was sorry that James Jefferies ever drew the color line. He said he hated to see him retire from the ring forever without first whipping me. Jack Johnson said, it's kind of shame that you're going out undefeated and I'm sitting out here, topping my game, and I requested to fight you, but you used the color line, and so, it's funny, if you just go ahead and, you can go ahead and fight me, you can have a clear title. You know what I'm saying? You can say you the best. Again, isn't that what the heavyweight champion of the world is? Baddest man on the planet? Right? And so accordingly, Jack Johnson was talking about, well, so many people believe that, you, James Jefferies, you could lick me. Back in the day, I guess they said lick me. Now, you can whoop me, lick me, right? But he was like, rather tough on me to have it on all of it. So, it's tough on me that you talking that you can whoop me. But, you know what I'm saying? Ain't what they say, ain't nothing but an opportunity. But, you got a color line holding us back, right? So, Jack Johnson is kind of, you know what I'm saying? You would think that they have it come out, he's a double fabber, Abba. You know how they say, he ain't talking like that. They're not writing like that when they talking on paper. He talking straight. You understand? He said, now the other fellows except Jefferies, right? Now you got the other fellows out here, they willing to fight him. He said, except for you, Jefferies, what's going on? He said, no chance to win the honor. He said, now all the other fellas out there that could and would fight you don't have a chance with you to win the honor. But he said, but here I am, a man who can do it. I can do that. And you don't want to fight me. So this is psychology, right? This is that, trying to get up on the mug's skin to get him in, right? So what happens is, he wished he would come back and take him on. Jack Johnson's like, come on, man. You're the best out here. I want the best. You keep claiming the best. You keep getting in the paper. You keep talking about how you undefeated. You talking about how you the champion. You all this. And yet, I'm waiting on you. And you keep talking about color line. I ain't ready. You got every excuse in the book. And then Johnson was like, well, he said, you did? He said, he played psychology with him. He said, well, he did not draw the color line because he was afraid. Huh? He drew the color not because he was afraid. He said he drew it because he didn't want to fight me on account of my color. Now, what's the difference? Huh? One is either you afraid of me or the other one is my color. Which one is it? Now, you a fighter. You undefeated. Everybody holding you as that. That's who you is. He said, what you want to fight because of my color or you just afraid of me? Huh? You chicken? Right? And so Jack Johnson said, well, I believe I ought to be given a chance, right? I ought to be given a chance. At least let's see what it's all about, right? So guess what happened? Burns became the champion, right? Remember, Jefferies retired. He's just talking, they going back and forth, and Jack Johnson is trying to find a way to entice him to get in because this could be a championship because he's holding this title of never being beaten. So when he come back, he's already like a champion. It ain't like, remember Burns actually won the fight and has gotten the, what you call, traditional passing it to him. So if Jeffrey comes back, then it's going to automatically be, we're going to go toe-to-toe championship. So Johnson's like, all right, Jeffrey's over here bullshitting. So hey, Burns, you want to fight? So according to what they said, that the reason why Burns initially didn't want to fight Johnson because they said his wife had told him, you better not fight him. You better not fight him. So, man, he listened to his wife. But, after a while, guess what happened? Burns overruled his wife's objection in August of 1907. So in 1907, guess what's going to happen? Burns going to sign a contract to fight Jack Johnson for 45 rounds for a purse of $25,000. 45 rounds? Huh? 45 rounds for $25,000. And they're going to meet in Sydney, Australia, December of 1908. Right? So, guess what's happening, y'all? 3 days before the Burns-Johnson fight, here's James Jefferies again, want to come out and talk about his position, and then he's like, well, the possibility that a black man would hold the heavyweight title, he kept telling the reporters. Then he said some stuff like this. He said, well, if that coon comes around here and challenges me to fight him, if he wins from Burns, I'll grab him by the neck and run him out. They said, Jefferies, could you explain what you mean by that? Then he declared, I'm not willing to see the championship of the division go to a Negro. Rather than allow Johnson to carry off the belt, he will re-enter the ring and whip him. A day later, he went and reneged what he said. He said, I want to withdraw my statement announcing that that big coon comes around me with this big talk about challenging me. I'll take him by the neck and throw him into the streets. Oh, that sounds like he reneged, kind of like he doubled down, right? Okay. So the Washington Post said they clarified that Jeff offered to get into the cellar with Johnson, lock the door, and let the best man walk out with a finished fight. See, he on the side. He over there rah-rahing on the side. But the real is the champion about to go down with Jack Johnson finna fight Tommy Burns. Right? But here he is still on the sideline talking like he the champ, but you retired, right? Okay. So, he said his determination to retire will not fight a Negro even if he decided to fight again. Now, here he is. He talking smack, talking about what he would do and grab you by the neck, he put us in a closet, and I'll come out, and then he goes, would not fight a Negro even if he decided to fight again. What? Huh? This your king, right? Okay. So, Jack Johnson, he here talking. He getting ready for this fight, right? He getting ready for this fight. So Jack Johnson like, man, hold on, man. Let me go ahead and do this. So December 26th is running up. That was 3 days. So that had to be like on the 23rd, right? Day after Christmas. Jack Johnson defeat Tommy Burns in Sydney, Australia. Became the heavyweight champion of the world. Became the heavyweight champion of the world. Yeah, he did. Yes, he did. He became the champion of the world. And the thing about that heavyweight champion fight, the police had to stop the fight in the 14th round. The police had to come in because he was beating the daylights out of Tommy Burns. Because he couldn't even defend himself. He was beating him so bad. Right? And according to the contract, they said in that contract, they said, well, it was in the event that the police had intervened, the decision would have to be rendered by the referee. Now, see, look at that but-for clause. Right? You was whooping them. So the deal was put the police in there beating them, and then that way then we could put it in the hands of the referee, and then the referee could still give it back to the white man. But guess what happened? When the decision was rendered on points, the referee without hesitation declared Jack Johnson the winner. All through the fight. So he was all beat up, and then they went to ask him and said, Burns, what happened? He said, I did the best I could. I fought hard. Johnson was too big. The reach was too great. Jack Johnson now heavyweight champion of the world. So they go back and ask Jeffrey. Okay. I told you 5,000 times I will not re-enter the ring. I am not going to fight Johnson. No Negro or any white man, big or little. When I retired. I've been out training for 4 years. I've been out of training for 4 years. Doubt if I could ever get back on my old condition. I don't like to see the highest honor of boxing rest in the hands of a black man, but it's not my fault that it does. It's not up to me to wrest the championship belt from the Negro. I advise Byrne and other fighters to draw the color line, not to take on Johnson or Langford. And thus they're endangering the championship. Now what is that saying? We've always been looking at stuff and realizing that the reason why you don't get the opportunity because the mug knows if he give you the opportunity, what's going to happen? See, this is what this history lesson here is about. It ain't about the fighting. It's about understanding the psychology, because this boxing ain't just about boxing, y'all. This boxing is about something else. Stay tuned as you get more into this. Okay? You ain't going to get this nowhere else. But right here, right? Like, share, subscribe on there. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and take a quick little one. We're going to get back into this. Huh? We're going to get back into this. Okay? Be right back, y'all. We're going to be right back. Hey, you sitting here watching the video. Why you sitting there? Put your hand on that like button, click it, thumbs it up, share this video, comment. You can like or dislike it. We don't care about that. And also, if you ain't over here and subscribe, what you waiting on? Get yourself over there and subscribe to get on up to We Up Report. So you can stay up because we going to keep you up. That's how you help keep this channel going. You can also do some monetary donations. We'll tell you about that later. But right now, wake yourself up, like, share, and comment. And don't forget, when you subscribe on that button, hit that. All right, we are back, right? Oh, something going on over there. Got some technical difficulties up in here. You know, always got some agents up in here. So let's continue on with this story here, right? So what happens now is, now that Jack Johnson is the champion, right? And so there was a growing public pressure to fight Johnson, telling James Jefferies, we need you to fight. So, you know, he's still kind of, you know, he's still wavering. So there was a former champion who was lost his title back in 1897 named James Colbert. He was about 42 years already, and he kept announcing that he would fight Johnson to return the title to the white race. Let me say that again. So the growing public pressure to fight Johnson grew for James Jefferies. But again, he kept wavering. So a former champion of this champion named James Colbert, who was about 42 at this time, he kept announcing in the press that he would fight Jack Johnson and return the title to the white race if no other whites are if other whites are unavailable, as he's saying, right? If other whites are unavailable, I'll go out there and do it. Now, wait a minute. I thought boxing was about the sport and the individual. This is about race. About race. See? You know about the individual. Why you think you be seeing in these boxing matches, be the whole nation be up in there? You know what I'm saying? This is about race. Anyway. So in February 1909, they go see Jefferies come out again. He's softening his veto to want to fight, right? He told a reporter that he would be willing to fight Johnson if he could lose 30 pounds, got himself back in shape. Now, he's trying to build the anticipation. Now, remember, he's been out since 1903. It's 1909 now. That's 6 years. Okay. And so Jack Johnson heard him say that. You know what Jack Johnson says? I said, I arranged to meet Johnson. Oh, well, matter of fact, that ain't what he said. James Jefferies said he would arrange to meet with Johnson as soon as he get his 20 weeks engagement over. Wait. See? Wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? He got too many ands but you know what I'm saying? Now, he talking about 20. He need 20 weeks to before he can give you an answer. He said he feels obligated to the sporting public, which he talking about to his white race, right? To make an effort to reclaim the heavyweight championship for the white race. Now he's saying it. Now remember what Colbert said. Colbert said he would do it to return it back to the white race. Now you have Jefferies saying the same thing. He said he'll make at least an effort to reclaim the heavyweight championship for the white race. An effort. He already kind of sound like he already know he gonna lose. Get what I'm saying? He already sound like he know he gonna lose. He done already looked at that boy and said, I can't whoop him. But he got a save face. He got a save face. Then he talking about he got right for the white race. And then he goes and he talks about he talking about how he had been defeated. I think it's no more than right that I should step into the ring again and demonstrate that the white man is king of them all. So he's saying, I have not been defeated. So remember, he's undefeated. He's still using that as, well, nobody's ever beaten me. So, if anybody should be able to step in the ring, it should be me. Wait a minute, man, you're 6 years out the game now, right? But you still using that as to be able to be woofing, right? He's still woofing with it, right? So he woofed and said, well, let me step in the ring again. Let me demonstrate that a white man is king of them all. Yes, he said that. He said that. Huh? Oh, that's actually the white man is the king of them all. Huh? What y'all talking about? What are you talking about? Huh? It's our game. We dominant. So, word got back. Jack Johnson, I'm willing to meet Jefferies. I am willing to meet any man in the world. And I don't think anyone can get a decision over me, much less put me out. Jack Johnson said, it ties me to hear this talk about Jefferies claiming the championship. He said, when a mayor leaves office, he's an ex-mayor, isn't he? Right? He's an ex-mayor, right? He said, when a champion leaves the ring, he's an ex-champion. Well, if Jeff wants to try and get the championship back, I'm willing to take on him. That's Jack Johnson. That's Jack Johnson, man. Jack Johnson, he is the prototype. All the stuff that you see, this is the prototype. Wait a minute, hold on. Go back there again. No. Yeah, there you go. Get that one more again. Get that one more again. Stopping the bad man type. Stopping the bad man type. This the mode right here. This the mode. I'm going to show you why they talk about that's the mode. And so they go back and they talk to Jefferies again. He said, well, if Johnson had been a white man, I never would have thought of fighting again. I would have stayed in retirement for the rest of my life. But because he's black and the black man has got the title, and I'm like, I guess somebody has to defend it. Somebody has to do it. Is boxing about what you thought boxing about? You thought you knew. A lot of people try to say they know what the game is. I don't think you know what the game is. So, March 17, 1909, word leaks out about Jefferies' camp. They say that he's about to announce his decision to enter the ring to fight Jack Johnson. So the next day, the Washington Post put out a correspondence. And then Jefferies said that he would fight only if he would see 75% of the purse. A few days passed by without a word from Jefferies. All right? He said he would fight only if he would see 75% of the purse. Johnson sent another publicized offer, $1,000 to say yes or no about the fight. Jack Johnson said, oh, okay, 75% of the purse. Well, shit, I'll give you $1,000 right now. Just say yes or no. Guess what happened? Jeffrey declined the offer. He could not make up his mind whether to fight Johnson. So Jack Johnson then accepted the open invitation of the former champion, James Colbert, giving Jeffries 2 weeks ultimatum to change his minds. He had 2 weeks. I'm going to let this 42-year-old OX champion of y'all have to represent for you. Since you sitting there talking about you undefeated, never been whooped, and I drew the color line, but I mean, for the sake of the white race, I'll take him and drag him to the street. All right, come on, man. I'll give you 75% of the purse. I'll give you $1,000 right now. Say yes or no. Right? So fuck it then. Give me that other cat. He wins if I'll take him. Colbert. Let me get him. So guess what happens, y'all? On the day that many people, it's just another day. But if I say April 20th, on April 20th, 1909, in the American Music Hall of New York City, he announces, I will fight Jack Johnson. I will defend my title as undefeated heavyweight champ of the world. Huh? He keeps saying that. Right? Okay. All right. So he put that claim in. So you know how it go now. Now he getting ready, right? He getting ready. So let's show how it was leading up to that fight, how it was looking, right? All right, let's show how that was leading up to that fight. So what you gonna see is let's go ahead and show leading up to that fight. Cause see, we gotta do that, right? I should have did that, right? What happened to it? Okay, choose. Yeah, I should have did that. All right, so let's see what happened, right? No, not that one, sir. Not that one. That's the one you want right there. Come on. So you see that everybody was out there that was getting hyped. James Jefferies is coming to whoop the nigga. James Jefferies is coming to whoop the nigga. They was all out. They was greedy. They was happy, right? He was out there, right? The word got out. He was getting ready. So, the hype coming now, right? All that leading up to what had happened. So word getting out, white people getting all elated. They about to say, man, it's finna go down. You know what's finna happen? We finna get the title back. White man finna be at the top. You know what I'm saying? Whoop-de-woo, whoop-de-woo. So, they were showing the pictures and showing them. Then you see him out there. He getting himself ready, right? He's getting himself all ready. He ready to get it in because he know it's showtime now. It's showtime now. Ain't nothing else to be said now. You got to get ready for it. You finna fight Jack Johnson. It's the white race against the black man. You understand? It's white versus black. This is 1909, y'all. This is it. Huh? This is it. They finally got what they was looking for. They finally got it. This is what they had been asking for ever since that Jack Johnson got in that ring and won in Australia, right? So the date was set for, right? So let me show you. Here's the fight card that was set up. Yeah, Jack Johnson versus James Jefferies, right? Gonna be July 4th. Well, what day is July 4th? Matter of fact, going back that the day that remember that Jefferies go ahead and made his announcement that he would fight happened to be April 20th. You know what April 20th is? A lot of y'all weed heads. Oh, that's weed day. No, it's also somebody else's birthday, but he wasn't born that year. He was he was not 20 yet. I think he wasn't 20. I think he was born in 1889. So that means that by the time this fight happened, he's going to be a little bit like 2021. So Hitler's about 20 years old. So they all know what's going down. Maybe some of this has some sprinkling inklings to get to it. Because, it's said that he came here to learn about what he was doing anyway, right? But that's another topic for another story, right? So anyway, right? You see it. There's the card right there. Jack Johnson versus James Jefferies, Reno, Nevada, July 4th, 1910. July 4th is what? What was that? What Jesse Lee Peterson? White History Month. It sounds white. So it was Independence Day, right? Anyway, right? So they got it set up. Huh? So here it is. It's set for July 4, 1910. James Jim Jefferies is going to step into the ring and fight Jack Arthur Johnson. Jefferies was a former heavyweight champion of the world. May 1905, he retired undefeated. Now, he retired in 1905, but he had that fight since, 1903? Maybe not even 4, right? So he retired in 1905, was undefeated. And he said because there was no white man that was left to fight him, Johnson was the heavyweight champion of the world. He was black, and the only man who could arguably challenge him was himself. So 16 months earlier, Jefferies explained the motivation for him returning to the ring. I felt obligated to supporting public at the least make an effort to reclaim the heavyweight champion for the white race. I should step into the ring again and demonstrate that the white man is king of them all. Jack Johnson was the son of emancipated slaves. You know, he ignored many of the social conventions, defeated whites in the ring, claimed for the game of a prime manhood symbol, the boxing heavyweight championship. This what made it so what, y'all? This is what made it what it was. This was the manhood symbol. So the race involved in holding the manhood symbol represents the race. And here was a black man of emancipated sons of former slaves and holding the so-called prime manhood symbol, the boxing heavyweight championship of the world. He also was in public relationships with white women. Johnson, they say, was regarded as a bad nigger. Let me say that again. Johnson was regarded as a bad nigger, a status which were related to the lack of conformity, the social orders and the norms. Johnson perfected the qualities of the bad nigger, disregarded danger, interracial taboos, and added insults to the injury. He was intelligent and strategic. Super neat. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this bad nigger they be talking about, right? When you look at some of the writers of the time of the 19th century, and when they write about bad nigger, they said the bad nigger was the most horrible creature upon the earth, the most brutal and merciless. They say how many whites have felt that this way about Johnson because they say they watch him just walking down the ring and just stepping in there. I mean, it's almost white. He don't give no shit. It's like he don't get like he wishes he would, right? He wishes he would, right? So, but here in the United States, again, this being the turn of the century, right? This is the 20th century, y'all. This is the 20th century. They labeled Jack Johnson was the ultimate bad nigger. Let me say that again. The United States labeled Jack Johnson as the ultimate bad nigger. Promoters and the press touted Johnson Jefferies match as the fight of the century. Remember the trial of the century, right? Remember that? Was that black and white? The OJ case? Oh, okay. Race be in there for all you. You guys stuck on black and white. I can show you, but I can tell you. So the gamblers believed in Jeffrey's supremacy. So all the bets were overweighted in his favor. So let me do something here for y'all. Let me do something for you. Because some of you may not understand that you may think that should we do it? Yeah, let me go ahead, right? Let me show you something, right? I can't do it here because I think they won't. I think they might say that that's cuss. I can't do that. So go ahead and put us back over there, right? All right, so let's do this, right? So again, they use that term bad nigger, right? It's kind of like on here, right? Right, bad nigger. So it's stopping the bad man type. I didn't put bad nigger, but bad man, right? Now you heard Ali. I'm a bad man. Bad man means something, okay? But it's really is representation of bad nigger. But for some of you may not never heard that or didn't know about that. Let me give you some information on that, right? Let me tell you about this bad nigger thing, right? So, can we? Yeah, we could do that, right? We could do that, right? Yeah. Okay. There was a news article in 1906 I did some research on, and it was talking about this particular bad nigger. Now this is 1906. This is actually before the fight. This is actually before Jack Johnson. Well, I guess it would be after Jack Johnson become champion till 1908, right? So 1906, that means that the term bad nigger had already been part of the colloquial terms of, Europeans or white and Caucasians using it against us. So here was a news story in that little section you see there. I'm going to bring that up so you can see what it says, right? So it says the bad nigger. One of the press dispatches from Springfield, Missouri, stated that during the exciting moment when crowds of infuriated white men were parading about the blacks, an insolent Negro insisted upon courting death by talking loudly of his rights. Right? So this is Springfield, Missouri. And seemed like some infuriated white people was around black folks. And so this one brother said he was courting death because he was out there talking loud, talking about his rights. Talking loud, talking about your rights. So today, my rights. And Black Lives Matter. Understand. So what the Negroes would do, he was saying what the Negroes would do if only they had the guns in the possessions of the whites. It was with much difficulty that this intrepid fellow was saved from the bloodthirst of the mob that seemed to be on the lookout for another victim. Let me say, okay, so this, what they say, intrepid fellow, it's like really kind of like, this dude, is he crazy? He kind of funny. I mean, you see, it's 1,000 of us. And he's sitting in front of us talking about if the blacks had the guns y'all had, we show you. And so him sitting there, and they talking about they bloodthirsty, talking about they looking for somebody else. It was just him talking to them. He wasn't scared. He told them right? Oh, we looking for somebody else. Crazy. This nigga crazy. He gotta be crazy. He got to be crazy, right? Okay. So, of course, this Negro was of that type. What type they talking about, y'all? What type are they talking about? What they talking about? What type? Stopping the bad man type, right? Stopping the bad man type. There's a bad man type out here that most of us don't know about. There's a bad man type. There's a bad man type. So, of course, this Negro was of that type, known as a bad nigger. And every community where there is an extensive black settlement is familiar with this kind. Bad niggers are only children in morals and intellect, but with all that is brutal and cruel developed to the adult standard, it is the bad nigger. Where extensive black settlement in our hoods that we come from, that's familiar with these kinds. They know the kind that live in those areas. Those are bad niggas over there. Ain't that something? See? Who gonna tell you this? Who gonna tell you this? Right? This history. This is the history. Anyway, moving on. Now they say, who is responsible for the most of the prejudice against the race? He is usually addicted to cocaine or whiskey or both. He insists upon taking advantage of every opportunity to annoy a white man or a woman if he thinks he can do it safely, so safely. Right? Who is responsible for most of the prejudice against the race? So it is the bad nigga who makes other black folks hate white folks because they the one antagonizing white folks, and they say it's because of this type that makes us have this commotion between us two. And so now you see where this always on drugs, cocaine, and that all the way back then. They're talking about cocaine. He's on cocaine. He got to be on cocaine. Got to be on drugs. There's no way somebody in their right mind would be talking like that. It's annoying us because he's saying some things that's annoying us. So we're going to blame him. This was in the newspaper article. Said the bad nigga is the fellow who pushes unescorted white women from the sidewalks, inflicts his presence upon the white woman in the streetcars when there are other seats, and commits other similar offenses that are calculated to stir the white man to resentment. Crime is crime, but I understand when you say that if a black person goes out there and happens to target somebody white, we get that, but crime is crime. But everybody is insinuated more when it seems to be the face of melanin, right? Especially black American melanin, right? So the bad nigga in Springfield was cowardly as his tribe elsewhere. Oh shit. For he took advantage of the presence of the soldiers to taunt the white man. Of course, any human being with ordinary senses would not have taken such chances. But the bad nigga has not ordinary sense. Let me say that again. The bad nigga in Springfield was cowardly as his tribe elsewhere. So the bad nigga is a coward, and all his tribemen. For he takes advantage of the presence of the soldiers. So he hides behind the fact that somebody will protect him. Now you ain't got nobody protecting you. I don't know. Maybe this is Jim Crow, right? This is after Jim Crow. So, okay, so you're saying that they're taking advantage and taunting you because they know you can't do them because of soldiers. So if the soldier wasn't there, what would happen, right? So you say taking advantage of it, right? They said, of course, any human being with ordinary sense would not be taking such chances. But this bad nigga has no ordinary sense, right? He doing it, right? Because he crazy, right? He crazy. So the bad nigga is more of an enemy to the Negroes than to the whites. Let me say that again. The bad nigga is more of an enemy to the Negroes than to the whites. As intolerable as he is to the latter, which is white people. Listen to this. Race wars are started by the bad nigger, and often many innocent colored men and women are made to suffer through the conduct of one such specimen. One more again. The bad nigger is more of an enemy to the Negro than to the white. As intolerable as he is to the latter, race wars are started by the bad nigger, and often many innocent colored and white, colored men and white women or black women are made to suffer through the conduct of one such specimen. So you're going to say the bad nigger is the one who's inciting. Matter of fact, you good obedient niggers, you Negroes who don't give us no trouble, you don't talk bad, you follow, do as we say, right? You're okay. But this bad nigger over here, right? He's the one that get you riled up. He's the one to get all this stuff, and he's the one that caused race wars. Huh? He's causing this, right? This one, this type, okay? So the story goes on and talks about how the 3 men lynched by the Springfield mob, now listen to this, were probably innocent of the specific crime for which they paid the penalty. Yet they were all known as bad niggers. And it was apparently the mob conclusion that if they were not guilty of the specific crime, they should be killed on general principles. Let me say this one more again. The 3 men lynched by the Springfield mob were probably innocent of the specific crime for which they paid the penalty. Yet, they were all known as bad niggers. And it was apparently the mob conclusion that if they were not guilty of the specific crime, they should be killed on general principles. Huh? You can't lose. They can't lose. It's always right. No matter whether they wrong, it can always be. Huh? Oh, really? Y'all think I'm lying? You think I'm lying? Let me, okay. Hold on, let me show you something. Okay. Go again. Right? And absolutely undefensible as such reasoning is, it is a potent element in rousing race hatred. The Negroes themselves should take everything possible to subdue the bad nigger who seeks to stir up strife. Let's say it one more again. As absolutely undefensible as such reasoning is, it is a potent element in arousing race hatred. The Negro themselves should take everything possible to subdue the bad nigger who seeks to stir up strife. This is coming from the Kansas City Journal. Okay? Oh, what? So, let's look at a little bit of some of this stuff while I go on a little bit. Let me look at a little bit. Hold on. Go back over there. Right? So some of this stuff is trying to blame it on, again, this type, they say, right? This so-called type. This type that makes everything, right? Stopping the bad man type. So in a way they propose that black people, you know that element amongst y'all that got all this strife and riling you up? Why don't you subdue it? He's more of an enemy to you than he is to us, even though he vexes us. But that's when we deal with it. But you're always dealing with it. So let's think of it this way. You know, some of us kind of understand that there are different levels of, you have people who are in different places whose job is to really keep certain people up to down on the grassroots to keep them low. Is this part of what this might be? That those who not conform to, you know, the way they conform, and then they'll deem you as a bad nigga, and so they all work in cahoots, you know, unbeknownst to many of us, you know, and wonder why so many incarcerated, some of them can't, you know. Is that what this is? Is this unspoken code amongst somebody? And this was saying back then in 1906. We are now 2021. Been over 115 years ago. Is that still in effect? Has it evolved and turned into something else that is undisguisable today? And who are they and what are they doing, right? But there's obviously this particular type of man is not acceptable. They don't want you to accept it, and they don't want to accept it. So, are there people on the other side who are against that? Do they exist? Maybe, right? Maybe. So, getting back to the fight now, but before, let me do this. Where we at? Okay, we 136. Okay, so let me go ahead and get into this, right? Because we're now getting up to the crux of the whole ordeal with this, because remember the outcome of this fight that's going to happen between James Jefferies and Jack Johnson is going to ignite something in this country, right? It's going to ignite something. So we're going to go, let's go back to, go back there. That's fine. All right, so let's go back there. No, take that one. All right, take that out. Okay, so we're going to go back here, right? Because we're leading up to this fight, right? This is the whole thing. We're leading up to this fight. Right? So you got promoters, you got the press. They're all, this is economics now. Right? People finna make money on this. Right? The gambling finna make money. Those who are promoting finna make money. And it's starting to get to the fact that this I won't jump there, but so anyway, they start putting out articles about the scientificness of the fight and how the gambler's market prediction is going to try to tell you based on this science of who's going to win. And then the week before the fight of the Johnson-Jefferies fight, they had published an article, it's called The Psychology of the Prize Fight, and they were predicting a win for Jefferies. Okay? And they were showing in the article that Jeffrey's whiteness blessed him with the intellectual superiority. His whiteness blessed him with the intellectual superiority. Johnson's blackness burdened him with an emotional streak. Is that scientific fact? That whiteness is blessed and blackness is burdened? Show me the data. Show me the research in that. That's propaganda. And that propaganda has been permeating in minds and hearts and spirits to the fact that they don't even know why. But they don't like you, but they love you. Right? I don't like you, but I love you. And so they talked about, based on this science of this blessed whiteness and this burden of blackness, and then how your blackness gives you an emotional streak, it ended up providing an advantage for the blessed white man in these, encounters. That's what they saying, man. Right? So now you had the whole nation closely following the preparation of the Johnson-Jeffrey fight. Harper Weekly ended up publishing May of 1910. And they had an article examining the finance and the economics of the fight. Instead of them talking about that, we know what they put in there, that article? They were talking about how Jeffrey as the hope of the white race. Jeffrey as the hope of the white race. And Johnson as the Negro's deliverer. They made this race. Going back here, 1910, 111 years ago. 111 years ago, same propaganda tactics used then about race is still being used today. And so, when they talk about this economics and the fight of it, and the commercialization that they were going to make money through film, this fight was this was big. They were going to make a lot of money. They were talking about, they were estimating between this fight between Johnson and Jefferies, and they would probably make $1 million. Now, that's a blockbuster, astounding for a moving picture, and this is in the early 20th century. Ain't no such thing as that kind of money at that time. So guess what? There was 12 companies who invested to fund and produce a film, right? So there was 12 companies. Now, anybody ever read who invented Hollywood? You can pretty much figure out who those 12 companies were, right? At that time, this is around the same time. So if you read that book, you'll know who it was that was out there funding this, right? And their ideal of funding and producing this film, so they said it would allow people around the world to watch the fight for the fight of the century. Now, right? That's what they're saying. Oh, we're going to be able to make a lot of money. People going to want to see this. Because remember, scientifically, they are believing that Jeffrey's going to win, right? Everybody's saying Jeffrey, the booking house is all in his favor. The papers, the experts, all coming out. They're all saying this, right? Okay. And so these companies and the pioneers and entrepreneurs who built the motion picture industry, they were all in on it. Everybody, once again, from the inception, Jack Johnson's going to make money, but he ain't going to make the money they going to make. But they're going to make all the money off him, right? You know how they go. We've been doing that. See, that's because we are start to slowly mature now, but, they're changing the game up. But you know how it goes. So they had more experts' opinions, and then they were talking about these theories, and they were talking about how the Negro is the strongest man physically. Now they admit, and this is 1910, and they're getting their experts, and they say, well, the theory is that the Negro is the strongest man physically. The superiority of the brain of the white man to that of the black man. Okay, so now you're talking about superior to brain. How does one know one brain is superior than the other? Now, many will say, because look at what we're doing, this science and all. Well, again, remember the game been rigged. This is a rigged game. It ain't like you say on the march, get set, go, we all start at the same line and race. No, it's like on your march, you're running, get set, you're 2, 5, 7, 10 miles, get set, you're 100 miles, go. It's 200 miles, now let's go. Now you want to talk about let's go. That's not a fair race. And I understand the concept is never such thing as fair. But okay. So, but how do you measure superior brain? Oh, you say, well, I'll take an IQ test. Who made the IQ test? The IQ test is based on what? Just like this algorithm and the people who make this. Who makes this? It has, the algorithm still has a Eurocentric mind, a Eurocentric way of doing it. So it's still rigged. As much as you want to say it's not rigged, it's still rigged. Well, you don't have to believe me, but anyway, right? So, you know, so they believe the superior the brain of the white man to the black man, and it's undisputed by all authorities. Of course. You mean to tell me if you say he's physically superior, and then if he was ultimately smarter, would you admit it? So they talk about how the white man brain is finer intellectual instrument than the black man. Say a white man fighting with a Negro to whom he is not physically inferior ought not to be defeated if the contest is prolonged. So if a white man is in shape and fighting a black man, his intellectualness should make him win because he can outsmart him in a long fight. But the Negro is emotional than the white man. They say he's emotional. Some people can be emotional and they don't have no reason. But a lot of times when people got emotions is because something triggers it. Something is real. It's not like it's fake. It's something that triggers. But, you know, for a man, non-emotions mean to show weakness. Again, we understand where this ideology is coming from. But emotion don't mean that it's fake. It just be that something triggers you. And as a man, you try to harness and control all your emotions because sometimes emotion can have you jumping out the window prematurely. So I understand that. But that don't make every black man emotional. Isn't that every white man non-emotional? Right? But that's what they were saying. So again, these flawed ideologies that they are saying. Right? And so they believe that if in the short encounter with a Negro, or the white man, or the black man gonna win. In a short, quick, you know, pop, 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 pop. A black man finna win that. But you start holding and bear hugging and you know, you know what I'm saying? Tying them out, making it long, you got a good chance of winning then, right? Because you said the intellectual power of the antagonist functions. Prolongation of the conflict, the intellectual power of the antagonist functions. So you start getting smarter as the fight get longer because you're trying to figure a way to get up out of there. And it's going to be to your advantage because you're white, your brain is bigger, and you're stronger, right? Okay. So here it was. The whole entire world was awaiting a pictorial of the fight. They're looking at this as a gold mine. A wish that is father of the thought of hundreds of millions of white people throughout the world. They wanted to see it. So we ask ourselves today in 2021 when there's certain images, how much of that image, when you talk about George Floyd, how many of them enjoyed seeing that image? I mean, you know what I'm saying? When we doing these shows and we showing certain images, understand the sensationalism, the propaganda, and what it does to the psyche and what it builds and what it destroys. So here it was, Jack Johnson, the deliverer of the Negro versus the white hope. So it drew the line. Whites on this side, blacks on this side. So what happens? What happens? What happens? We know what happened. You want to know what happened? Let me show you what happened. Let me show you what happened. Go on, get in the tape. Let's show what happened. So, it happened, and you know what happens. We already know what happened. We're in the future. We know what happened. But just in case you don't know, right? It was this. This is what happened. That's what happened. That's what happened. Right? To give you a little even better than that, let me show, because you know what? They did everything to make sure this didn't get seen. So they did show you that. But this is actually what happened. This is what happened. This is what really happened. That's what happened. That's what happened. 20,000 in attendance. All their money on this. And this happens. It's over. It's over. It's over. And what happened after Johnson's victory over the Great White Hope shook the nation. So now what happened? The deadly riots are happening throughout the country. Massive waves of censorship of the boxing film is happening. Cities and states are declaring that they would not allow the exhibition of the Johnson Jeffrey film in their jurisdiction. They didn't want that to be seen. Censorship mania took place. It was all this was threatening the motion picture industry. They didn't want that to be seen. Kind of like CRT today. And so the 7 and 10-year-olds, and they're going to go around here, they're going to hate. It's just the same thing as right here. They didn't want that seen. I said, no, you can't show that. Because why? Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why they didn't let that be seen. Let me tell you some of the things that they were saying after Jeffries got knocked out. Let's take one and come back. All right, I think we are back, right? So fight news is followed by race riots in many parts of the country. Yeah. So they going crazy, right? Acting real crazy. Because why? They lost. They lost. They lost. So imagine the people that got killed, lynched, places got burned. They try to equate it to the same. They said the same riot as it would have been when King got killed. That's what they equate it to. All over the country, going up, white people going up, because their image been smashed. All that they believed that they were was all embodied in this one fight. And when it went through, it didn't go for them. Well, they snapped. They snapped. So let me show you what some of the, some of the stuff they were saying, right? The New York Times warned if the black man wins, thousands and thousands of his ignorant brothers will misinterpret his victory. The message was clear. If Jeffrey wins or won, white superiority would be proved. But if he lost, whites would still be superior. What? Let's say that again. The New York Times warned if the black man wins, thousands and thousands of his ignorant brothers will misinterpret his victory. The message was clear. If Jeffrey won, white superiority would be proved. But if he lost, whites would still be superior. What? In doing so, it keeps blacks and whites from seeing Johnson beat a white man. The historian Jeffrey Salmon says, in many ways, Johnson represented the bad nigger that whites were so willing to parade as an example of why blacks must be kept in their place. Let me say that again. In doing so, meaning keeping that film from being sought, from keeping that video from being seen, it keeps black and whites from seeing Johnson beat a white man. Historian Jeffrey Salmon says, in many ways, Johnson represented the bad nigger that whites were so willing to parade as an example of why blacks must be kept in their place. Really? Stopping the bad man type. Stopping the bad man type. What is that type, Mr. Blows Your Mind? What is that type? I heard you say a lot, but what did you say? Well, let's do it like this. Let me do it to you. Let me show you this. The bad man type. What is that bad man type that they so dread so much? What is that? Well, let me tell you like this. Let me go ahead and tell you like this. Accordingly, they say nothing is more threatening to white supremacy than blacks who do not accept their place. And Jack Johnson did not accept his place. Johnson was, as Muhammad Ali once said of himself, a bad man. Johnson was, in the language of his day, a bad nigger. Someone who cared nothing about what white America thought about him. He flamboyantly confronted the social mores of the day by humiliating white opponents, by driving expensive cars, by wearing expensive clothes, and by dating white women, and in particular white prostitutes. Let me say that again. But there's some of y'all in the back. Some of y'all that go in the classroom with the paper over the window. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Remember the classroom with the paper over the window so nobody could see? Somebody try to poke a hole so they could see. Damn, my homie in there. Nothing is more threatening to white supremacy than blacks who do not accept their place. Jack Johnson did not accept his place. Johnson was, as Muhammad Ali once said of himself, a bad man. Johnson was, in the language of his day, a bad nigger, someone who cared nothing about what white America thought about him. He flamboyantly confronted the social mores of the day by humiliating white opponents, by driving expensive cars, by wearing expensive clothes, and by dating white women. Fellas? Y'all with the paper over the window? Nice clothes, expensive car, white women? You are a bad nigger. Did you know that? Did you know that? Did you know you a bad nigger? Did you know that? Probably didn't know that. Johnson's victory over Burns struck fear among American whites, in no small part because he had defeated a white man in the manliest of sport. But Johnson's victory had not been his alone. Black Americans saw it as their victory. A growing number of blacks refused to accept their place. They walked taller among whites and refused to accept inferior status. In Chicago, the Manassas Club, an organization of wealthy blacks with white wives, hired white waiters to serve them food and drinks at a banquet to celebrate Johnson's triumph. Johnson's victory demonstrated the physical superiority of the black over the Caucasian. One of the club members said, the basis of mental superior in most men is physical superiority. If the Negro can raise his mental standard to his physical eminence, someday he will be a leader among men. Johnson's victory over Burns was unacceptable to white America because Johnson refused to demonstrate the proper respect for the law and the customs of American society, and because he believed he was equal to, or perhaps superior to, whites. What would happen to America and its democracy if enough other blacks began to believe that they too were equal? Johnson needed to be taught a lesson. He needed to be put in his place. Only then would the natural order of things be preserved. White newspapers begged former white heavyweight champion James Jefferies to come out of retirement to put Johnson and, by implication, all other blacks in their place. By agreeing to fight Johnson, Jeffrey became, according to newspaper, the hope of the white race. Both races understood that the stakes were high for the fight. The Chicago Defender, a black newspaper, said Jeffries and Johnson would settle the mooted question of supremacy. The Omaha Daily News, a white newspaper, said that Jeffries' victory would restore superiority to the white race. If the black man wins, the New York Times editorialized before the fight on that July 4th, 1910, said once again, thousands and thousands of his ignorant brothers will misinterpret his victory. After Johnson defeated Jeffries, the Los Angeles Times warned blacks to accept their place in white society or face the consequences. Do not point your nose too high. Do not swell your chest too much. Do not boast too loudly. Do not puff up. Let not your ambitions be inordinate or take a wrong direction. Let no treasure inordinate or take a wrong direction. Let no treasure resentment rise up and spill over, the newspaper said. Remember, you have done nothing at all. You are just the same member of society today you were last week. Your place in the world is just what it was. You are on no higher plane, deserve no new considerations, and will get none. If Johnson could triumph over whites, what about other blacks? White Americans could see the impact that Johnson had on others of his race. Every time Johnson won, he laughed louder and he strutted more arrogantly. Every time he won, the blacks walked taller, demanded to be treated with more respect. It was therefore necessary for Johnson to be destroyed. America's whites sought to destroy Johnson with others, white hope. Whites sought to destroy Johnson with other white hopes, but Johnson defeated every challenger. He could not be defeated inside the ring, so he would have to be destroyed. Outside the ring, this required the federal government, law enforcement agency, the court system, the white press, and Johnson himself. He was charged with violating the White Slave Traffic Act, or the Mann Act as it was known. for transporting women across states with the purpose of prostitution or debauchery or any other immoral purposes. Johnson's arrests and ultimate convictions were enthusiastically applauded in white newspaper. Black newspaper, however, white American perceptions of the self-assured black man as uppity remained throughout the decades that followed Jack Johnson. Joe Louis, who would be heavyweight champion in the 1930s and the 40s, would be acceptable towards whites because, according to white America, he knew his place. He could be heavyweight champion without giving any indication he thought he was superior or even equal to the white boxers outside the ring. He did not question the social orders. That's what made stopping the back ManType. His image, what he exuded, what he infused. So we understand why now when you have these people in these professions and they are controlled, don't we? You see why they don't talk about political and they're not allowed to do certain things, because it is the bad ManType if we don't control it. Well, there was another individual who, for some odd reason, everybody did not support him. Didn't really understand the magnitude of what was being presented in your face. I did. Did you? Because let me show you something here. Okay? Back in 2000 and let me see. Okay, no, not that one. Not that one. 2018. Did y'all know that? Let's see. Let me show y'all something here. Take that down. And let's show that. Right. Did y'all know that in 2018, let's see. You seen in the clip in the beginning, right? You seen this, right? You seen that, right? Donald Trump is the one who went and signed the posthumous pardon for Jack Johnson. The nation acknowledging that he didn't do nothing wrong, but you had tarnished his image and his likeness for the betterment of yourselves. But do you see who's present that day? Do you see him? Do you see who's in there of the day that Jack Johnson, Do you see it? Maybe give you a better one. Do you see who that is? Know what he was in 2018 when he was in there? He was 40-0. Oh, so many people who hated him. Y'all hated him with such passion. I'm not talking about the other side. I'm talking about our own side. Y'all didn't understand what was happening. You didn't understand. You didn't understand. You just took it for what it was, Right? Listen to what Wilder said when he was in there. He talked to him. Wilder said that when he and others met probably with the president, Mr. Trump talked about Mr. Lewis' past fights and marveled at Mr. Wilder's perfect 40-0 record. The president also spoke about what a privilege it was to sign the pardon for Johnson when his predecessors had not. Mr. Wilder said, although he did not vote for Mr. Trump, and said the president had not done enough to improve the lives of black people, Mr. Wilder said Thursday event improved his perception of the president. Right? Okay. Right? All right. Right? He was there. He was there. And to his right is Jack Johnson's relative. He was there. But you know, he didn't pay no attention to that. He didn't care about that. So, you know, let me. So when we seen that fight that took place, when you seen that fight take place, yeah. You got a little snip, yeah. Go back over there. Let me show you something, since I showed you that, right? Let me show you something. In case you didn't know. For those who, you know, you didn't know. Yeah, take all that down. Yeah, take all that down. Because they gotta see this. Cause see, I showed you that, and some of the people might have, man, they know this is Deontay Tyler, man. He, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't, you know, typical. He was just a one-shotter, right? But y'all kind of forgot a little bit, right? You forgot a little bit, right? You know, a lot of people felt some kind of way, and let's see. Let's go here. Let's go back. Show that again to him. You know, he's in there, right? You see Deontay Wilder in there at the White House, right? And he's there. And, you know, like I said, he was split amongst black people. Some people felt some kind of way. They didn't like his stance, right? Remember when he said this? Let's see if we can do this. Remember he said this.
You said your people have been fighting for 4.
Okay, remember that? You remember that? I don't understand why that ain't changed on though. Right? Okay. Go up there a little bit. Yeah. Okay, now I'll do it. Okay, so check this out.
You said your people have been fighting for 400 years.
Man, your people's too.
So I just want you to explain what you mean by that.
You know what I'm talking about. Y'all all know what I'm talking about, man. Don't sit up here and try to bait and not know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what the I talk about when I say these things. Your people too.
Explain it. Not everybody knows what you're talking about.
Radio Raheem, I don't have to explain what's understood, man. You know what I mean by that. You know what I said by that. I ain't got to go further. And if anybody don't understand that, then God be with them. Go look up the history. Go look up the history. Don't everybody believe in Google? Go Google that. See what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, man. You know what. I dare you to sit up there and say, explain. You know what I'm talking about, man. He's fighting people. You know we've been fighting 400 and still fighting to this day. To this day. To this day. You just sit here, you don't know what.
All right? Everybody remember that, right? He was at the top of the game. Boy had the all-time knockout percentage. Huh? Was he as close to being today? Was he as close as it came to being this? Hold on. Was he as close? Was he that close? Was he that close? Yeah, a lot of people say, oh, they're talking about the boxing and his skills. But, you know, in Django, ain't that what the Leo DiCaprio talked about selling his niggas? And number 1 is win, number 2 is win, 4, 3, and 4, and 5 is nigga win. Well, if he was winning and undefeated, it was really getting close to getting that 50-0 like somebody else. He was threatening a lot of people. Even though it was unconventional, his style, But he also had another side to him, as you just heard. Was he a threat in such a way that they had to do what they had to do? And some people say, oh, he just got whooped. Some people say there was nothing in the glove, and there's a lot of controversy around there. And they say, oh, what about the other ones? What about the other fights? Okay, all right, I'll give you that, right? Well, how about this? It was such an event. It was such an event of what happened. It was such an event in that let me show you something. Let me show you something here, right? So we're gonna go over here. Now let's show you that. Let me just show you how much a big of the event that event really was. Let me show y'all something. Sometimes you don't catch the nuances of things, right? You don't catch the nuances. So let me show you something. Y'all ready to see this? Remember that, the walk-in? Remember? Yeah, that was a walk-in, right? Came in, he was ready. This was the third one, right? That was the third one, how they came in. It was at the T-Mobile Arena, and guess where it was at, y'all? Reno, Nevada. Huh? What was this again? Was this the fight of the century? Was that what this was? Was this the again, understanding what I just gave to you in this video and what was said, and here it is, was presented right before your eyes. Many of y'all didn't catch it. A lot of you didn't know what you seen. It was just another fight, right? Look, remember? Look at that. It came in with the rituals. This is bigger than boxing. This was something that was on a magnitude you didn't understand. But because you don't have the lens, you don't understand, you thought it was just, oh, well, I don't like him because he be talking that pro-black stuff. I don't like him because he unorthodox. I like this dude because he's better. I ain't into that race. But I just told you, going all the way back to 1910, and when it was on the line, did you see how they got a sister in there crying? Huh? He on with the Roman on? Huh? Y'all didn't know what all this was. It was just nothing to you. It was just whether you liked him or you didn't, right? Right? Y'all, and you might be thinking, oh man, you put too much. It ain't all that, man. It ain't all that. Well, I'm gonna show you how significant. See, he got that hat on and everything, right? Right? Huh? The uncivilized beast. Jesus coming here to save, huh? All right, it didn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything, right? Let me show you how much it really meant. Because, let me show you something. You think it didn't mean nothing, right? 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 Remember, he was in there at the White House. He's in there supporting, a lot of people again would talk about, oh, he was with white women. Okay. I get that. I get that. But it was bigger than that. And maybe they used that to, so you wouldn't look at this history. Maybe you wouldn't look at the history. So let me show you, if you think that that what I said and what I just showed you was a bunch of nonsense. Do you know after that first fight, what was said? Did any of y'all remember? Any of y'all remember? You don't remember? Think about it for a second. All right, let me go ahead and show you something. Check this out.
Bye-bye, American Pie. That's what Tyson Fury sang after the fight. Is it bye-bye to American heavyweights? Deontay Wilder, the last great, if you'll pardon the expression, black hope, because most of the great heavyweight champions of the 20th century were black guys who came out of the South. Is that storyline still a story? We'll find out when the rematch happens. Meanwhile, let's just enjoy what we just saw. A show unlike any heavyweight show I've seen in a long time.
Amen to that. It was one of the best. Larry, it is an honor to have you with us, sir. Thank you.
Okay, right? What? Was that it? It was over with? Bye-bye, American Pie? Right? So, Mr. Blows Your Mind, you reaching, you grabbing for straws. Really? Am I? Okay, well, I seen an article. Today is November 12th. About a month ago, I seen this article. Let me show you. Huh? Look what it said. Who will be the next Black Hope to be heavyweight champion? October 10th, 2021. What do you mean Black Hope? What do you mean Black Hope? I just gave you the history of who the White Hope was, so you think everything I just told you was nonsense? You think it don't have no correlation at all? None? Oh, you don't believe on that race stuff? Really? You know what they really trying to say? Huh? You know what they really was trying to say? They ain't trying to really say that. You know what they're really trying to say? Let me show you. Let me show what they're really trying to say. This is what they really want to say. Who will be the next bad nigga to be champion? That's what they really want to say. You know. So, you know, ain't nothing to be said, right? Ain't nothing to be said. If you think everything I just gave to you was a bunch of nonsense, it's fine. That's fine. But the truth of the matter is, it's in the assemblage. It's in the nuances. It's in the spirit of it. Don't have to be direct for you to be able to discern it, but you have to have the eye. You have to know what you see, and it be there. They just never gonna say it openly, but not gonna deny what I'm saying. So, you know, there's more that could be said to this, because again, they made a movie for him. Do you not know that Birth of a Nation has Jack Johnson in that? I mean, he didn't play it, but the scenario. Those ever seen Birth of a Nation? Right? You ever seen Birth of a Nation? Huh? You ever seen Birth of a Nation? And it was talking about how that Cyrus, and he was after the white woman, and the white woman jumped off the cliff. That was Jack Johnson's. That was in reference to Jack Johnson, right? The demoralization, because again, they had to rewrite it because it was too racial, but then they put that, remember he tried to marry her, and instead of her marrying her, she would rather jump off the damn mountain, right? They made King Kong. Right? They made King Kong about that too. Jack Johnson was so big and had so much of an influence in permeating into them that, again, Trump had to pardon him. You understand? Man, I tell you, talking about something about who will be the next Black Hope to be heavyweight champion. So you think what I'm saying is nonsense? Go ahead, write down there. Tell me everything what you think. Again, this is the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. I'm going to hear your comments, but your dislikes, all that good stuff. To the next show, y'all. And to the next.